Hi, hello, this is Jules the Human here, and welcome to the Jules and Matt Anime Hour. I'm one of your hosts, Jules the Human, and every week we go out into the world and watch a little bit of anime, and then we come back here and talk about it. And today is the very first time we're going to be talking about Tower of God. We picked this anime last week out of the suggestions, out of the big chest of anime, and this is our next anime that we're going to watch. We're going to watch the whole first season. We're going to give you our thoughts on episode 1 through 4 today and some of the episodes next week and then the week after that, and we rate it. Thank you so much for watching here on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you're watching live. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I'm not here alone, and don't go on this anime journey alone. We are joined by, as always, my co-host Matt Galley. Matt, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing really good. I've been playing a bunch of new video game demos because
Oh
Steam just
yeah.
has their Next Fest going on right now. So there's
Oh.
dozens of video game demos up right now. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of fun stuff. And it was hard to find the time to want to sit down and play this when there are so many little demos looking at me right now.
Sure.
Or
So
watch this, not play this.
yeah, for sure. And this is one of the animes that we've are starting, but we've done so many in the past. We're on season 2, and on season 1, we did so many anime that are picked by you, the viewer. So if you want to add an anime to the chest here, it would be 500 bits on Twitch or a $5 super chat on YouTube. So if you're watching it live and you're like, oh, I want them to check out this anime, go ahead and give us 500 bits or a $5 super chat, and that'll be split between me and Matt. We've already done these three here, and that's our rankings for season 2. And whenever we rank Tower of God, you get to input your thoughts as well, so you get to rate them along with us. But let's get into Tower of God, because we always got to check out the first episode as a first episode. Did it grab us? Is it interesting? What's the story? What's the plot? So what happens in Tower of God episode 1, Ball?
We are introduced to the tower where at the top everything you could ever want lies. Rachel wanted to climb the tower to see the stars, but Bam didn't need anything else but to be by her side. After bidding Bam farewell as she departs for the tower, Bam wakes up finding himself greeted by Hadon, the caretaker of the tower. Hadon poses Bam with a test to prove his worth before they're interrupted by Yuri, a princess of Jahad, and her navigator. Yuri lends Bam a sword, the Black March, to help pass his test. Asking for the sword's strength, Bam is granted the strength to climb the tower, ascending to the next floor with the Black March to Yuri's dismay. Finding himself in an arena with 400 other combatants, only 200 will be moving on to the next floor. Bam finds himself standing off with new foes.
Pretty cool. One we got to talk about the intro. One thing about the intro of this anime, I know it's a webtoon. Is this our first webtoon that we've ever done on the show?
I think so. First webtoon
Possibly.
adaptation.
Um, the intro to this anime, the song is good, but there's not a whole lot going on, and I can understand where it was for the budget. I'm okay with them not doing a fantastical intro if they put the money into the actual show, because what from the action that we do see in the first 4 episodes, pretty good. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And I do really like the art direction itself, even if it's not like super high fidelity or anything like that. It
Sure.
does feel super inspired, and the hand drawn aesthetic is really pleasant uh on the eyes.
Yeah, for sure. Dan says the intro song is fire. Pretty fire. I do like
Pretty
it, but
fire.
there's just like
Not a
black
lot going on.
screen
Yeah.
words, black screen, here's a shot, here's a shot. So first off, the intro, not great, but I do understand if they're saving it for budget. Climb the tower and the world is yours. What, Matt, is at the top of the tower?
The
It's a
At the
puzzle.
top of the tower is anything you want. Power, fortune, fame. What else did they say?
Yeah,
Like,
whether you
they kinda
desire.
gave off all these different motivations that all these different people might have, and it's like anything that you might possibly want is at the top. And the
What
only
I
reason that Rachel wants to climb it is because apparently that's the only place that you can see stars in the universe that we are being presented.
Sure. And I like this idea to start off because it is classic storytelling. It is a classic, like, everybody wants this, and here's the thing that will take away your troubles. So it instantly gives us motivation for anybody. Um, a little loose. I feel like we will find that it's not all that it seems to be. Obviously, it cannot be. What how is it possible that at the top of the tower you will get whatever you are seeking? Don't know what that is. It is enticing though to a lot of people. And we see Bam go through into this other world, sort of. I guess he got pulled through into this area where he has to face the test one, the white steel eel and the ball. How do you feel about it being super disorienting in the beginning? Because for me, it's just like, here we go, not explaining what happens. Bam doesn't know what's happening, but now we're in a test. And
Mhm.
like, it could be seen as a little bit jarring, but I'm fine with them just getting into it and not explaining it a whole lot. Because in episode one, you have to hook me, right? You have to hook
Mhm.
the viewer into watching your anime,
Yeah.
and just getting into a test with the big steel eel that we've seen before, I'm fine with that. What do you think?
Mhm. Well, it's just I think it's fine because of the type of story it's telling where it's again, it's not something super original in terms of the grand structure for it.
Yeah,
Like you said, you know, we've seen stuff like this before. Um it draws many parallels to other shows in its medium as an anime and
sure.
in its as it being a I'm sorry, a manhwa. Am I pronouncing that right?
Manhwa. Hmm.
Manhwa. Uh it also draws parallels to other things to come out of Korean pop culture.
Hmm.
And so like it's very familiar even though it's doing things fast in this first episode. And I mean, like the I guess the only problem that I would have, not even problem, but the biggest like thing where I'm like they really are going to just do that twice, I guess I'm okay with it, is the oh well everything wouldn't work out for you otherwise, but you're kind of cute, so I'm just going to
Yeah, we
I'm
see
just
that
gonna
too
bend
much.
logic for you,
Yeah,
and that happens
and
twice in quick
yeah, in the first
succession.
episode.
So it's asking me very, very quickly for my suspension of disbelief to be high up there. But again, because of the type of story it's telling, where immediately it almost seems like we're being presented with like demigods and stuff like that, a situation of like heaven, hell, and purgatory maybe
Hmm.
going on. And so ultimately, like, I'm okay with it because of the story that it's telling, and the tone that everything is kind of being built up to.
For
And
sure.
the fact that, like, we have this character who does have a very strong core motivation in that, you know, I don't like this person was kind of literally the world as I knew it. So I'm going to do anything that it takes to get back to them.
Yeah, for sure. And okay, we'll get into it whenever we get to it. So we find out that Bam is considered an irregular, someone who's opened the gate on their own. Like you said earlier, the Black March was given. The Black March is a sword, given to Princess of Jihad, princesses of
Mhm.
Jihad. They're given swords as gifts, and she lends her strength to him because why not? You know, why not? Sure. We find out as well about our two, I guess, main characters. Rachel found Bam and wants to see the stars. Bam doesn't remember anything before then, and he gets ascended into the next floor, into test two, where for everybody else, uh, they're on test one. So he had a preliminary test to get into the tower because he was an irregular, and everybody else is regulars. And instantly, like you said in the Discord, Hunger Games s Squid Game s, given
Battle
that vibe,
Royale,
battle
all those
royale.
things.
Is this? overdone. I know Tower of God came out not too long ago. Is this too much? Are we
Well,
kind of reaching that point?
the manhwa came out way back in 2010, I
True.
think.
Okay.
So this adaptation is as new as 2020 or like 2019, I think.
Yeah.
And even back then, I had people who at the time, I think I might have been watching like Hunter x Hunter at that time actually. And I had a coworker who was like, "Oh, you like Hunter x Hunter? There's this new show that came out, Tower of God. You'll probably really like it." I'm like, "Oh, for sure, I'll check it out."
Mhm.
And checking out these first 4 episodes, it's like, yeah, if you're somebody who enjoys like some of the parallels, this is something else that does a lot of those things in quick succession where it doesn't hold your hand to draw the conclusions on certain things. And I know that can be a double-edged sword. It's definitely where more modern shonen has started to go in that
Sure.
direction where it takes they take inspirations and they don't like they either turn it on its head in a certain way or they completely rip it out of the picture entirely to a degree that again it can be jarring for some when you have
Mhm.
things happening so quickly without much explanation. Oh, you're an irregular, these are regulars, that like this is the tower, princesses of jihad, what like everything that's going on, this is your, what was the orb called, I forgot. For some reason he couldn't understand what they were saying before, but now he can. So are they like are
The
different
pocket.
languages? Yeah, it's a pocket, that's right. So it's just it's doing all these things, and you're just supposed to pick it all up, and that can be really nice when you want to get right into the story when there's a
Yeah.
grander story to tell.
And it's not super dense
Yeah,
stuff that's
it's not
happening.
dense, that's the thing.
It's
But
pulling
as a
you in.
result, it's this world where as totally juxtaposed to last time, where by the end of the first episode, you have a sense of like all of these different like things that are going on in this world, all of these different cogs that are moving at the very first end of the episode of Code Geass. But
Mhm.
here it's just like, nope, here's Bam, here's Rachel, a tower. He has to move through it. She wants to get to the top. He's looking for her. And that's like basically the world so far.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that, because it's not super what's going on, and it is touching on the familiar things that we've already, seen in other
Yeah.
genres or other
So
anime.
because it's doing things so snappy and quick, but it's keeping things within its scope, I think in my opinion, it works well as I'm watching it. It's like it's super digestible and it's
Yeah,
very consumable. And by the
mhm,
end of the first episode, I have a bunch of questions that I want answered.
for sure. Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask, as well. Hi, Claire. Welcome to the stream. If you want to say hey, type in the live chat. We appreciate everybody watching live. If you want to submit an anime for us to watch, we are talking about anime every week here on YouTube and Twitch. Submit 500 bits on Twitch or a $5 super chat, and you can add an anime here to one of the lists, and we'll get to talking about it at some point. But we're talking about episode 1 of Tower of God, and uh I want to know, as a first episode, where do you feel you're at? Like, you've already answered that, but like, where do you feel as opposed to the other anime that we've watched on the show? For me, episode 1 was good enough. It looked beautiful. It looked really good. It's not an art style that I would particularly like gravitate to. Like, me seeing the trailer for it, I'm like, okay, that's interesting.
It
But
looked like cutscenes out of FMV that you would get on like PlayStation 2 anime games. Like it's
yeah,
like it's just kind of at that crossroads where like
yeah.
it's really, it's got a great art direction, but it doesn't have super high fidelity.
No, and that's okay. I'm fine with that. So as in episode 1, I think it hits the mark in what we usually look for. We look for something that makes you keep watching, just enough story to grasp what's happening and kind of the story arc that we're going to follow, a decent main character. I don't really super love Bam just yet in episode 1, but like, I understand where Bam's going and I understand that. The world seems interesting to me as well. I don't know, like you said, you gotta suspend some disbelief. I don't know why she just handed him over such a powerful sword, like we're gonna see later on how revered the swords of these types are, or why the sword just granted her power to him, but I can look over that
The
because
sword's not in girls.
yeah, I guess so, and they just kinda went with that. Claire says, "I didn't make it past the first episode. Our main character enters a mystical tower for a girl we know nothing about and then immediately forgets where he is and why. I got to the end of the first episode knowing nothing about either of them and not caring what happened to them." Well, I mean, I thank you for giving it a try. We appreciate it. Um, it is a lot like what we've seen before. I mean, I'm on
That's
isekais. It
yeah.
is sort of an isekai, and I'm kind of but this was enough,
Mhm.
I think, for me to be like, "Okay, cool, let's keep going."
It's different enough for me, and it's just one of those things where if I like other things that are like it, I want more things like those things to exist. So I feel like to be drawing a comparison isn't like, it may sound like a criticism, but it's really just observations that I'm
Mhm,
making when I make those when I draw those parallels.
mhm.
Because at the end of the day, yeah, if you don't like those things, you probably won't like this. If you didn't enjoy Squid Games, if you
Squid
didn't
Games.
if you didn't enjoy Hunger Games or Hunter x Hunter or Battle Royale or High Rise, I forgot what the High Rise one's called. But yeah, all those
I thi
things.
Sure, I think Claire explains it a little bit better here as well. I felt it needed to establish the 2 of them and their relationship before whisking them away. That's probably the thing I like the least about the show so far,
Yeah.
is their relationship, is Bam and Rachel, and in episode 2 going forward is when because episode 1, I was, "Okay, this is
So
good enough,"
like
but going episode 2 forward, it became more about the other characters, and I really enjoy that part.
I don't I don't know how far goes, but at least for me, like it seemed like the show was kind of like trying to make that place that he was in out to be like maybe he was in some sort of a purgatory, in some sort of a place after death, but not quite in the afterlife. I'm not quite sure
Okay,
because of how phrasing that out can be. But to be somewhere like that where you've wandered for so long that you forgot anything about everything, um to then be brought back, like, figuratively and literally, to be brought back into the light by somebody who then shows you something that you haven't known for so long, and that becomes, again, your whole world. I can buy into it that once that's taken away from him, that he would do anything to get that back. It's not a well built out relationship. I'm not saying that it is, but I can say that I can buy into that being his motivation as a character.
sure. I didn't even pick up on that, that he could have been stuck in some purgatory or anything. I didn't even think about that.
It's making the show's giving a lot of like it's trying. I don't know if it's like there are the show's the manhwa's original writer intended it to be some sort of a uh yeah,
Metaphor?
metaphor for the afterlife and
Sure.
stuff along those lines.
Okay.
Um, especially how other interpretations of the afterlife can get in different religions and stuff. I'm not well versed in that. I'm not somebody that is, but I just know that representations of that in media have become more normalized, and I've seen things like that happen with video games too. Like there's a version of the game like RimWorld, except it's themed after like being the spirit director in the Chinese afterlife.
Huh.
Um
Interesting.
there's a lot of that right now
Sure.
in up and about, and to me this is like it's giving that. I don't know if it is. I'm not saying it is, but it's giving that vibe.
Let's get more into the story. Episode 2, 3, and 400s. What happens in episode 2?
In episode 2, Bam becomes acquainted with Kun and Rak as the next test continues. The number of contestants continues to dwindle as Kun becomes intrigued with Bam because of the Black March. Forming an alliance as the test ends, everyone must form a team of 3 to carry on. Bam and Kun trick Rak into joining them. The test administrator, Leto Ro, arrives and announces a culling using Shinsu, the source of the tower's power. It's thanks to Shinsu the tower itself can exist. Bam, however, is unaffected like everyone else was, drawing Leto Ro's attention. Bam is allowed to ask questions after winning a bet with Leto Ro and learns about irregulars. As the rest of the contestants grow impatient, Leto Ro makes an example using Shinsu again. With the next test ready, it seems the administrator is aware of Kun's presence.
Oh, buddy. So Claire
So
says, I just assumed they traveled somewhere to this mystical door tower and that place was dark. Yeah, I don't know yet. Or we don't know yet really where the Tower
I'm
of God
just
is.
this is me like trying to look 2 layers under all at all times. Like
Sure.
I'm just
Bro, the introduction. I don't want to say it because it's too early. Rack Wraith Razor, maybe my favorite freaking character out of well, one of my favorite characters from the animes we've watched.
yeah.
And this is the introduction of some like silly slapstick stuff, which is just enough. It's just enough for me where it's not annoying because I'm annoyed whenever it's like too much and that's always happening. But the way they switch to chibi, I'm glad you grabbed this because they do this with Rack a lot, where he switches to chibi form, and Rack Wraith Razor is probably one of my favorite characters. And please just have him eating chocolates, tons and tons of chocolates, and for an episode, and I'm fine with it. I don't know why I've attached to this character. I love him. Rack Wraith Razor is my spirit animal for sure.
I love him too. And again, we get into with these 2 characters, Rack and Kun, we can immediately draw some parallels from other shows. Hunter x Hunter being the prime example for me, where Kun is a stand-in for Killua, and Rack is a stand-in for like a half of a Hisoka, where it's the side of Hisoka where you have somebody who like wants to hunt. He keeps saying, I'm gonna hunt you as the black turtle.
Yeah. He calls them
And
turtles. What?
yeah, he calls them turtles, so he's hunting them as turtles. And you had Hisoka where he wanted to fight Gon and Killua, but he could sense their potential, so he was like, I'm gonna wait till you guys hit your full potential, then I'm gonna fight you. And then, because of them tricking him into this alliance, that's what they basically say. He's like, wouldn't it be so much more entertaining if you fight him once he gets stronger? He's like, you're right. And he's like,
Maybe.
wait, no, I'm not gonna fall
I'm
for
not
that.
gonna be tricked. It might be controversial, but I'm glad you drew that parallel because Hisoka was one of my favorite parts of Hunter x Hunter. Ooh, I love Hisoka there, and you making the
This
connection
is
to
that
Rack.
character done right.
Yeah. Well, hold
I,
on.
I mean, I mean,
I
Hisoka.
know.
That's what I mean when you say, it's like there's some parts of
I
Hisoka
hate
where
the
it's just
Hisoka
like,
slander. I'm
yeah,
just kidding.
it's just there's a controversy to say the least.
It's understandable. Smudge says on YouTube, I'm so glad you like him. I thought it could go either way with you. I like Toidles. Yeah, I it really could have, honestly. And I was on the fence, but if they kept doing that stuff
Too much.
too much in an episode,
If that
it
was
would
his
get,
only character.
yeah, if that was his only character, but he is a fully formed character. He has his own like wishes, and outside of the little chibi silliness, he is something, and he wants to do something, and he wants to do this, and he does have other interactions, and I really like it. So Rack, Wraith Razor, love him. Coon with his freaking briefcase full of stuff, great.
And I mean, like with me again, it's like I was like, oh, that's the Killua stand-in. Oh, and he's got a briefcase because like just like Killua is carrying a lot of baggage. I'm just saying.
Well,
I'm just saying.
they mentioned in episode 2 or 3 where one of the characters was like, "Oh, you're carrying a pretty heavy bag," and it was like,
Yeah.
"What do you mean? Like physically, like
And at
literally,
the start of that
or?"
episode, we see that he's got some trauma he's apparently trying to work past.
Yeah, he does have some baggage.
So again,
What do you mean
just like
Kilo does have a
literally and
baggage?
figuratively, this show just is doing solids.
Yeah, and it's funny. I mean, all I in Leorio reference? No. Um, I s- sometimes I get overwhelmed with anime that show a lot of characters. Like in the last show that we watched, there's a lot of characters. I'm glad that we didn't spend a whole lot of time like diving into everybody's name, everybody's motives, everybody's goals,
Yeah, with
and
something like what's another big roster? Danganronpa, when it just like
yeah,
throws all the characters at you right
sure.
immediately off the bat.
And this one kind of took its time. We saw the faces of these characters that we're going to see later on, but I can't tell you their names, but I understand what they are and who teamed up with who. And then this side group as well, which we're going to follow more of into the next couple episodes. But we find out that there is Shibizu. So we find our power level, I suppose. Shibizu?
I
Am
thought
I
it was
saying
Shinsu.
Shinsu? Did I write that wrong? Shinsu? Yeah, I guess so. I wrote it wrong. Shinsu is the power of sort of water esque type. I'm not too sure what it is. Um,
It can take the form of water, but it can also like act as a sort of like it seems like a solid.
sure. And our first introduction of this is by the administrator who is ranked. And the introduction of the administrator states that there's someone that's gotten to the top of the tower and then they come back down to do the test. So doesn't that bring up more questions about
Yeah,
what's at the top of the tower?
yeah. I think it
Because
does, yeah.
if you were climbed to the top of the tower and got everything that you wanted, why are you still here? And why are you administering the test for more people to go up there?
Yeah.
What is it, Matt? I'm looking to you for
That's
answers. What
my
is
no,
it?
yeah, that's my I those are my questions too.
I want an answer. I don't know. I don't know what it is. That's why I'm like, it's not. I know it's not what we're expecting, and I know it's going to be probably for some higher king that is ruling the land and nobody knows about or something, or do they find out the truth, kind of like the gift, or not the gift, the giver. Is that what it is? Where there's one person that knows the truths or something, and they tell them the truths of the world and how it's has been changed, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about this
The giver withheld
specifically.
all the truths of the pain and the
Sure.
joys that the old world had before everybody became like normalized
Black and
just
white.
across the board. Everybody became emotionally sterilized. That's the word
Hmm.
for it, I think.
So in the context of this world, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm thinking that there was something in this world that happened because apparently the sky is fake. The sky isn't real. It's all Shinsu.
Well, like
And
that, like in that moment, they're in a tower that's floating above that yellow grass field where they saw the sky, but like that's still in the tower. So they're in a small tower inside of the bigger tower.
I'm kind of okay with not knowing how the structure of everything is. Um, until we see like outside of everything, then I don't care because I don't understand that. I don't understand
And
where this
that's what I
place
mean when I
is.
say when they show him in that underground area and the administrator starts talking about there are these three different regions, the this place, that place, and the this other region. And I'm like, is that where he was wandering forever? Was like in that third region or something? Or is there like a fourth region where it's just forgotten about or something like that? Like
Or it could be like a Matrix thing
I just
where
feel like this is all
they get unplugged.
one like like from everything we've seen is operating in like one cohesive little world where wherever he was like at the bottom, the very bottom where like
Okay,
forgotten souls or something like that go to.
sure.
And
Got to make it to the top.
that's like just me trying to I'm just putting it
Visualize
trying
it.
to visualize it. That visual structure for me.
So we learn about the irregulars that some are chosen by Hedon to enter, And I wrote down here Bam and Rachel may be from another world. I don't know, remember why I put that
because
there because they're irregular or
they're
he's irregular.
irregulars. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know their connection there. And then we get to test 3, the red door. So we got to get going. Episode 3, the correct door. What happens in episode 3?
We see some of Kuhn's buried past before the team gathers before the next test. Kuhn begins to wonder why Rachel would leave Bam behind. The team is given a clue about the next test before it begins, leaving Kuhn stumped. Rack grows impatient and manages to accidentally pass the test for the team. The administrator seems to know about some secrets that Kuhn is withholding as he learns of a group passing the second test that wiped out all other contestants. Leto Row announces that there will be a bonus game, and the winner will have been considered to have passed all tests hereon. The rules of the crown game are shared as the first team quickly takes the throne using what seems to be another weapon, like the Black March. Bam noticing that it seems that Rachel is also amidst the contestants.
Oh, it's getting good. So we get some backstory on Kuhn. Kuhn was exiled, or his whole family was exiled because his sister wasn't chosen as the princess. So, from what we know in these past couple episodes, we find out that uh, if you were going in as a regular, it would be sort of like us here living our lives. I'm assuming that it's just us living our lives and we know about this mythical tower where we can get whatever we want. And then once I suppose we get become of age or we think we're ready, we get to try out for the tower and then we get our go into our first test. Is that kind of the understanding that we see here? Because Kuhn is talking about his life outside of the tower, outside of what's going on, about how there's a princess drawing or picking or culling or whatever, and his sister wasn't chosen, so he got exiled from everybody else. So I'm thinking that everybody is living in a little circle of town here, and then he got pushed out. Is that kind of because I'm still confused
That's
on
kind of what I'm picking up from that at that point.
Mhm. So he has some baggage to say the least there, and
But again, like maybe he got thrown out and then he was wandering and passed
see now,
away, and then now he's in the afterlife. Like I don't know. Like see,
you,
like that's what I keep.
yeah.
I don't know. The show could be just like trying to lead us on without really building the bigger picture, and I'm just trying to see the
See,
borders of
I
the painting.
while I was watching, I did not have any of these questions. Now that you're like posing it as possible afterlife, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it could totally be that. Or what? I don't know. Um, or this could be, you know what? It's all in Bam's head. How
Yeah.
about that one? It's all in Rachel's head. It's a dream. How about that one? Try that one on for size. The next class that is coming up behind the current one with Bam, Coon, and Rack, they kill everybody except for the 3 that remain, which is not how it's done. And the homie that was doing
Because
the
like when it hits
administrating,
100, when it hits 200, it was supposed to end, and somehow they killed everybody.
sure. And it also makes me think like this is just a rotating
Yeah, constantly people
class.
getting moving up and then getting like called out.
So then how many
And then in
people
that
are
last
there?
episode, the guy that we saw got made the example of using Shinsu's a second time, he said something along the lines of like, even if I go back, there's nothing for me left. Or there's nothing for me there. I gave away everything. I gave up everything to be here.
What does that
So
mean?
yeah, exactly,
What does that
exactly.
mean? What do you have to give to go and try out for the tower? What are these people doing that Bam didn't? That he just had to do a test once. He got lucky by finding a
Because he was
princess there
already in the tower.
because he was already in the tower.
That's what
But that how many people are there? Because if this is just continuing forever,
I mean, we had 200 in that one group move on, and then he said we need to do some culling, and then probably only a third or so of them made it through Shinsu after that barrier went up.
so
So
then, but
it,
then no, I'm saying like if there's a class they move up, and then the next class does test one,
Oh
and
yeah.
then they move up, and then the next
Again,
class
that's
does
what
test
makes
one.
me think it's like afterlife stuff because like that's the only way they could be filling that many applicants that fast.
Mm. Yeah, because they don't seem like they're
That's
talking about.
200 just moving through at that pace all the time. Like it just to me it doesn't seem like this has any it's not trying to have any foundation of reality with the world that
Sure.
it's set. Everything
The
feels very ethereal
Yeah.
and otherworldly. Go
Okay.
break that orb that's guarded by this spirit serpent,
Yeah.
and that's your first test.
And they're okay with it. So that Bam was cool with it.
And then
So
we see the princess in all of these little interludes where she's trying to catch up to Bam now. And
and
it's like,
she's
how
in
are you having
some.
such a hard time? Like, where are you?
Yeah,
Aren't you at the tower? Where
I
is this?
I did like that shot where she's like, "I'm lost," or whatever, and it's just like roads into the sky, broken up, and it's like,
Exactly.
how'd you
Everything
get
just
there?"
feels otherworldly.
Okay,
And it
okay,
doesn't feel like it's having any sense of reality or, yeah, realism in general.
sure. Now that I think about it, I was just cool with it. I was just cool with it
Yeah.
being just all weird and random. But we get the next game, test 4, the crown game, and I don't remember if I have her name. Anak.
uh,
Well, we get it later.
Anak,
Anak
yeah.
Jihad. The lizard girl manhandled everyone. There was a bit of action there, and I really enjoyed this stuff. This is when, of course, Rack is being silly again. I always love Rack; it's great. But we get some of the
Eating
more
chocolate.
hardcore action, the fighting stuff, and I really like this secondary team's like camaraderie, sort of, because I don't even know the other guy's name. The guy with the two swords, who's on
I
Lizard
forgot.
Girl's
I didn't
team.
write I
So
didn't write that one down.
he's like, you always got to trust your teammates, and you always got to believe in your team. It's like, oh dang, cool, and it's so good. I love that team's dynamic. I love what they're bringing to the story, and it's silly enough where I'm not put off by it. If it was too silly, I'd be like, come on, we gotta go find this Rachel girl, or we gotta figure out what's going on in this world. But it's just silly enough to where I'm like, okay, this is a nice reprieve here, while we figure out these games. And I love little games like this. And if we're gonna just keep going through little towers and doing little levels, we'd even talk about the door level, about how the essence of it was that you needed to pick a door uh within 5 minutes,
Within
and then the
5
clock was
minutes,
there. And
'cause, the world won't wait for your uncertainty. That was the point of
yeah,
that.
and then Rack picks a door and he's like, oh, I did it, whatever, I deduced it somehow. But that was
Instinct.
instinct. But it was literally just pick a door. The right door is a door, rather than you being indecisive. And I thought it was also interesting how there was somebody that was working for the administrators and
Mhm.
giving them a little hints there. What's going on behind the scenes? I like this because I like it where shows or movies present a game, or like these battle royale style stuff, but it starts breaking down. Like there's something else underneath it. And I think that stuff is the most interesting. I saw it a lot in Alice in Borderland. If you are a fan of the manga, or there's a show on Netflix now, season 2 just came out not too long ago, but Alice in Borderland brings up this sort of pseudo battle royale style, but it's all about how to get around that, and all the stuff happening around that thing that you're supposed to do, and how people stay alive in that. And I love that stuff. And this is kind of what's happening here. There's some stuff in the background that
Yeah.
we're unaware of. We're seeing
I
hints
mean,
of.
you kind of get a little bit of that immediately when Kun says things along the lines of, everybody's falling for what they're being presented. Like everybody's doing
And he
exactly
doesn't
what
follow
the
the rules.
yeah. So and then you have Bam who's in there not again, yeah, not to reach the top of the tower, but just to reunite himself with Rachel,
Do
which
you think anybody that we've seen has gone through the tower before? Is this somebody's second, third, 10th time? Do you think that Bam has gone through multiple times already? Anybody in
Now
chat
I
can
do.
anybody in any of the chats, if you want to chime in or anything.
There's something because like I don't know it like everything happens with like that the goddess really early, so I don't know if it's to chalk things up to the fact that like, oh, he's been granted the power that I'm supposed to suspend my disbelief on again, or if it's again, yeah, because of something like that the show might be withholding, but is clearly setting up that he's been through the tower already, maybe
Yeah,
multiple
and then he
times.
forgets everything.
And
That
every
it could
single
be.
time it's to be reunited with Rachel, and then he finds himself getting found by her underneath the. He's in a paradox. Oh, I'm sorry.
Is it? I mean, could
I-
it be just an endless thing where he finds her, oh, but it's not what he wanted. It's not like he wanted, and then he gets sent back to try it again, to try it differently, to do it again.
Matt,
Because
what
we've
do
seen
you
that in
give this
stories
show in
before.
storytelling? I'm giving this one an F.
Episode 4, The Green April. What happens in episode 4 of Tower of God?
Bam believes that the person he saw that he thought was Rachel is also not her. The crown game continues with Anak sitting on the throne, unable to swap out because of the rules. The next teams join up, but Kun insists that their team wait it out. A sleepy contestant shows to be a Shinsu user and tricks Anak into going berserk, then drawing out the Black March, Anak demanding it to be turned over to her. Bam refuses, and with Anak disqualifying her team, Bam's team takes to the arena with Kun pulling an outplay using a fake crown, seating Bam on the throne with the real crown. All while who seems to be Rachel continues to watch from the shadows.
Ooh. Ooh boy. This got some action. Homeboy in the sleep. I love it. I love it. In a homie having a slumber party with himself, but he's like, I got a plan. He turns out to be smarter than everybody. Turns out to be a Shinsu user. Love that reveal. How do you feel about the action specifically in this episode and a little bit in the previous episode? What do you think about this in the crown
I
game?
like the way that the action unfolds. It's like easy to follow, and there's a lot of flashy moves. Everybody's like doing something a little bit different, fighting in a little bit of a different style. Especially in this episode, we get to see our little Jet Li stand-in and his little what?
Yeah.
Love stuff like that. Drawing inspiration in every direction that it can.
Very fun. I like this episode a whole lot. Anak Jihad, we find out, is a princess of Jihad who is the owner of the Green April. So we're going through the different months,
Different
and
months, different colors.
but Kaylin also brought it up to me because I did not notice there's 13 swords
Oh.
of the months, and there's only 12 months, I think. The last I checked, there's only 12 months. So
June, Sambuary.
yeah, something like that. But that's something. I'm pretty sure that's going to be something, that there's another sword out there that's his or something. But he Bam still has not been able to use the power again, so he is pretty much defenseless, I guess, against everybody. So he has to stay with Kun and Rack. The sword was acting pretty strange, like
He's
it's
just
wanted
payload
to be.
princess.
Yeah, for sure. He's payload princess there. But the sword was acting strange whenever the Green April was there. So I'm not sure what that is. I
It
think
was
it's like
specifically when she started to Kun says
use her
something
power.
like, yeah, there's a certain yeah, ignition, the
Oof.
ignition power. Once she activates that, that's what causes the Black March to kind of go crazy,
Mhm.
shedding its it was like wrapped up in cloth and it just rips it all off because of the power of it.
And in this fight and towards the end of this episode was the first time that I really noticed the music. I don't know if you've noticed
Oh
it at
yeah,
all.
the OST is solid.
Yeah, and the jazz music really adds to the battles and the stuff that's happening on screen. I didn't notice it before. I did not like even pay attention to it, but I'm pretty sure it was there in the background. But I love the horns. There's a lot of trumpet and just jazz nonsense going on whenever stuff's on the screen, and I loved it. It's really good. But
Matches the chaotic tone and
yeah,
pace of the fights, and the freeform nature of them.
for sure. The thing I didn't uh I did not expect was for Kun to have two crowns there. And now it brings into question what his bag is really, right? Because
Yeah.
we've seen him pull out a bunch of stuff. We've seen him pull out infinite candy
Candy
bars.
bars, bro.
Infinite candy bars. So is it a pocket to another dimension? Is this whatever you think you can pull out of? Like, what do you think Kuhn's power is? And is this another, because we see
I
them all
don't think it's
fighting.
anything you can think of. That
Okay.
otherwise he would I think there would be other situations where we would have already seen him pull out other things, but we've only seen candy bar and crowns so
Hmm.
far, I think.
Um, it also brings, like, I start thinking about that, but then I start thinking about how different all of these sentient beings are. Like, they're
Yeah.
not going to talk about how there's this
Uh,
lizard girl
which
or these some sort of human like but also monster-esque or
crocodile.
animal style. So like, what, how is everybody okay with that?
Because we're not in the real world. We're in some sort
A
of an
real world,
afterlife. I'm telling you.
or is it a video game?
No.
Afterlife or
I don't
video
think it's a
game?
video game. We haven't been presented anything video gamey.
A battle royale style tier roguelike puzzle game, puzzle master? No. Leaning towards real, or
Like, I
leaning
mean,
towards fake.
it's setting itself up to be presented as real. There's no like, oh, this is the guild hall. This is XP and leveling up, and
Sure,
it's, oh, I gave you this really strong fucking sword. Here you go. Just give it back to me.
for sure.
Oh, the goddess that inhabits that sword never talks to me, and now she's making a pact with him. Oops. Like, it doesn't feel video gamey. It
Okay.
feels like
The
a
afterlife.
fucking afterlife.
Okay.
It feels
Uh,
like an acid trip.
yeah, for sure. Definitely. That makes sense, sort of. Uh, makes sense in terms of like game rules, and
The
the
fact that
world
things
makes
like
enough
that aren't
sense.
being questioned just really, again, this very small built out world. Um, there just everybody just seems to be okay with every single new thing that happens as it's
Yeah,
being presented to them, even
why
as
not?
they're progressing through this tower. Some of them bearing witness to Shinsu for the first time, and they're not like, put off by it. They're just like, oh, look at that. I got to get through it. They're just
Hmm.
accepting it
They
totally
also
with no,
talked,
like, yeah,
yeah, speaking of the Shinsu, the administrator also talked about how many floors of the tower there are. He said like at floor
30.
30, man,
You got to be dealing with this on a daily basis.
it's like, wait, what? How many floors to the tower, to the top of the tower? But ultimately at the end we see a character that looks a lot like Rachel that says it's okay to kill Bam, and we're left on a cliffhanger. And I'm interested. I'm definitely about the anime for sure. About it more than I thought it would be. It's given me enough in the other characters. Again, like I said at the beginning, I'm not that big into Bam, not that big into his relationship with Rachel. I'm sure that's going to be the ultimate payoff at the end, but I really like Rack. I really like Coon. I really like his story. I like the idea of, what's going on in the background, how the administrators are something else than we know so far. I like that there's games that are happening that pit everybody together, and this idea of the princesses of Jihad and their instruments of destruction, and why the one princess that we met on floor -1, I guess, had many swords to choose from and just kind of handed over Bam one. And I'm curious what happens. And I'm on board. I'm on board more than some other anime we watch. So I'm here for it.
That's
Matt,
saying something.
we are watching more episodes than we than we just did next week. So we're gonna watch, because there's 13 episodes of
Oh, that's
Tower of
right.
God. We're gonna be watching 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
9.
5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So episode 5 through 9, watch that before next week. Next week, we're going to be talking about Tower of God, episode 5 through 9. We'll post it in the Discord as well. Let us know what your thoughts are. Let us know some of your favorite moments or anything like that in the Discord as well. Thank you so much for watching. Matt, where can the people find you when you're not here?
When I'm not here, you can follow me on my Twitch at Matt_Galley. Follow me on any of my socials. Just add an ITS at the front. Make it ITS Matt_Galley on X, on Instagram, on anything that I'm on. TikTok, Matt Galley. When we're not
Ooh.
here, where can the people find you?
Well, hello, Cope. Hello on the YouTube side. I
Hello,
appreciate
Cope.
it. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for saying hey. You can find me here on YouTube, youtube.com/JulesTheHuman. We are live every Wednesday, going to be here on YouTube and simulcasting on Twitch. Hello, everybody watching on Twitch as well. But I'm going to be mainly doing YouTube stuff. I announced this week that I'm going to be streaming on YouTube. So if you like my gaming content, you can watch that on YouTube. I'm going to be playing a whole lot of Honkai on Friday, some games on Sunday. Hello, Cosmo. Hello. Bye, Cope. Thank you for stopping by at the end. We're going to be streaming live on Friday on this channel. So hit that subscribe button if you're not on YouTube. Here's all of our stuff if you
He's
want to
leaving
find us on
us.
everything.
Womp womp.
At Jules the Human, at Matt Galley, on all the things. We talked about Tower of God. Watch episode 5 through 9 by next week.
5,
And
6, 7, 8, 9.
yeah. And we're gonna watch that. Is Matt leaving? No, Matt can stay. I'll leave if that's cool. I'm gonna
I
head out
mean,
though.
I don't know about Twitch anymore, man.
Yeah, I'll leave, and then Matt can stay here.
I'll
No, but thank you.
probably.
So
Hmm.
what?
Huh?
Probably what?
Hmm?
Thank you so much to everybody watching live. We appreciate it. Thank you for checking us out and watching our little anime show. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm glad we can. What were you gonna say though? What was that? If you want to stream on YouTube, I can help. It's cool. It's
Well,
not bad. It's pretty cool.
Twitch ain't it. That's
Twitch
all I'm
ain't it,
saying.
Chief. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.